Tonight on the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror, after witnessing a brutal murder, this high-class call girl is gonna need more than her looks to survive. Angie Dickinson, Michael Caine, and Nancy Allen star in Dressed to Kill.
To another episode of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror, Unchained from the Content Nazis. Yes, episode number 15. Episode number 15. We are headed our way to the halfway point here in this marathon of murder. And you know, a couple nights ago, I reviewed a movie called The Case of the Bloody Iris, and that movie had a rather memorable elevator murder scene, and that reminded me of another movie that had a memorable elevator murder scene. And it's kind of like a giallo. I can see the inspiration for it, and that movie is Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. Dressed to Kill. So what is Dressed to Kill all about? Well, I'm glad you asked. It starts off with a lady played by the lovely Angie Dickinson. She's in the bathroom having a shower, and her man is at the sink doing his business, and she wants him. She is just all about him. She is just like touching and the thing is, this is the unrated version, so you kind of see her doing all kinds of, anyways, so she wants him, but as the steam builds, all of a sudden she's grabbed from behind and someone else is having their way with her, and she wakes up and reality sets in and she is completely unsatisfied with her love life. Her husband, I guess, is sort of like a dead leg. I don't know, whatever. And apparently, you know, she's got just the most gigantic case of blue balls, except that she's a woman, so what would be the term for a woman having blue balls? I mean, would it be like swamp snatch or moist muff? I don't know. I'm trying to keep with the alliteration there. But anyways, I don't. That's probably just disgusting. That's out of line there. Well, I don't care. What are you going to do? Take away my monetization? Ha! I'd have to be monetized to begin with. Whatever. Anyway, so moving on. So she kind of complains to her psychologist, whichever, who is played by the impeccable Michael Caine. And basically, one of the great lines in the movie is like, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's like, you find me attractive? She's like, she's asking him, you find me attractive? And he's like, well, of course. And then she's like, well, why don't you have sex with me? I'm like, well, shit, you know, there's a couple moral things to do with this. First of all, I'm your doctor, and there's that kind of patient doctor trust bond thing that we shouldn't be messing up. And another thing is you're married, you know, and I think the third thing is I'm married. At least I think he says he's married. I think he said he is happily married, which makes a little bit confusing what might happen toward the end of the movie. But anyways, so of course she's all flustered and blue-balled or misty. Anyways, so she ends up going to the art museum, and she kind of makes eyes with this one guy, and he leaves to go look at something else, and she decides, you know what, this is it, I'm going to do this, and goes to find him, and you get like this kind of cat and mouse thing going on until she ends up leaving the museum, and there he is in a cab, and of course they get in the cab and he immediately starts groping and grabbing stuff, and she's a little bit like shocked, but then she's like, no, this is what I wanted. So they go off and have sex. afterwards, he's kind of still knocked out, and she's all like, "Oh, that was great. I'm gonna leave a note and something, and try to think of something clever to write." And then she looks and sees some sort of doctor's note from the clinic, and it says that, "Oh, your test came back positive for STDs," and she's like, "What? Oh, now I gotta get out of here." But then she leaves, and then she's like, "Oh no, I left something behind, and I can't." And then all of a sudden, she's murdered in the elevator by this blonde female wearing dark shades, murdered with a straight razor. And of course, a couple people, I guess a call girl, played by Nancy Allen, who you probably know more famously from, I think, Officer Lewis in RoboCop. Anyways, so she's there with her John, and they, of course, discover the dead body, and she catches a glimpse of the murderer. And so now the murderer definitely wants to kill the only witness. And what happens afterwards is kind of a cat and mouse between the killer and her, and she kind of has this unlikely compatriot that she gets involved with, which was the son of the murdered woman, who's looking for justice, looking to find out who it is, and of course Michael Caine's character, who gets a message from one of his clients saying that, "I am very angry with you, and therefore I decided to take it out on somebody and use your razor to do it." And of course he finds that his razor's missing, and now he's concerned that he might be responsible or for this murder. And so that's how the story will unfold. And let's get to those scores, shall we? So Violence and Gore, I am giving it 1.5 out of 5. Look, the elevator murder and then the last kind of murder thing that happens are excellent, and they're bloody and they're nice, but outside of those things, not much happening in the Violence and Gore department. But sometimes it's quantity over quality, or quantity. Sometimes it's quality over quantity, yes. So 1.5 out of 5. Shock value, 3 out of 5. There's a couple nice scares in this movie, but the big shock value is in the twist at the end. And let me tell you something. This movie probably could not be made today because the killer, and this is not necessarily a spoiler, but the killer is trans, is a man who wants to be a woman. But Michael Caine, the doctor, will not allow him to have the surgery, and that's why he's lashing out. And you can't just do you can't do this movie nowadays. People are way too sensitive about stuff like that, which is crazy because it's a really good movie. But then again, you don't need to remake it. You just watch it because it's awesome. So there we go. 3 out of 5 shock value. Plot, I am also giving it a 3 out of 5 because it creates some great tension. It is an enthralling movie. Why I don't give it higher score is because the first act is very slow. Now, while I agree with what Brian De Palma was doing with that, because it was basically a mirror of the cat and mouse game that was going to happen between the killer and the witness. And so it creates a nice mirror for that. Plus, I know that she's going to be the victim. I know she's going to get killed, and going into this, not knowing, I'm trying to figure out, okay, when's it gonna, is this the guy that's gonna be the killer? And it did make a nice bit of low-level burn tension in those scenes building up. But yes, I, who still liked it, knows that it was too long, and it was very draggy. And a lot of people would be turned off by this movie because the beginning is so slow and not much happens. And there's not even dialogue really in there. I mean, there's just a few things, but it's mostly music and sight and the little, search and cat and mouse that's going on. And I can see a lot of audiences would just check out at that point. And it's definitely worth it if you have to fast forward through it. Get to the point, because everything after the first act is awesome, in my opinion. I mean, sure, a couple things could have been tweaked here and there, but I still really enjoyed it. And I understand what he was doing with that first act. But anyways, it's a 3 out of 5. It's kind of almost Hitchcockian in a way, because you're just not, you're getting into this character, and it's almost like how Psycho started. And maybe that was one of the points, is like, because you get this character introduced, and she's doing all this stuff, and for a good portion of time, it's just her and nothing psycho is happening, and then she gets, offed. Anyways, so 3 out of 5. Acting, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. I think everyone does a wonderful job. Dennis Franz plays a sleazy police officer. I think he did a great performance. Nancy Allen was great. Michael Caine, always great. The weak part was Angie Dickinson. I think she was a little over the top in her performance, especially, with some of it. It was almost too, like, histrionics. Like, why don't you have sex with me? Like, and just when she finds out, a little bit too much. But other than that, really great. 4 out of 5. Nudity, I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. Look, there's this shower scene. There's 2 shower scenes in this movie. But one is just jam-packed with tits, ass, and bush. And it's Angie Dickinson, very beautiful. And you get to see pretty much everything in the unrated version anyways. And it's for a while. And that's that first shower scene where she is just wanting, her husband there. And, it's just right off the bat, you're like, wow, look at all this. And just look at this. Anyway, so 2.5 out of 5. My enjoyment factor is a 4 out of 5. I love this movie. I can see that it is like a contemporary American giallo type of film. I can see the inspirations from giallo in there, even if it wasn't intentional. I think he must have seen some, and it's gotten in his mind. But also a bit of Hitchcockian horror in there, a bit of Hitchcock in there, and it's great. Even with the very slow beginning, I still like it. I appreciate what he did. I understand it. I dug it, but I know that not everyone's going to dig that. So my enjoyment factor is 4 out of 5. I mean, Angie Dickinson, hot. Nancy Allen, wow, she was really hot in this movie. And, I really only knew her from RoboCop, and, hair and wardrobe can make a big freaking difference. Holy cow. Man, anyways, so 4 out of 5. Overall impression, though, is a 3.5 out of 5. Yes, it is slow in the first part, and I have to knock it down. And I understand it, but I think a general audience is going to be a bit more upset by the slow beginning, but I digress. 3.5 out of 5. That averages out to a 3.1 out of 5. It is definitely a classic, and I suggest you go out and watch it. Get the unrated version, because it's got more blood. Even though it's not too bloody, it's definitely got more blood and more nudity. It's got more, toppings than the original. But if you can't get it, still the original is still great. I really like it. And the twist ending, you go back and you're like, wow, interesting. However, in retrospect, there is a little problems with the plot because of that twist ending. However, not enough to like totally destroy everything, but it's like, oh, you're like the worst doctor in the world. And I'm not even talking about Michael Caine. I'm talking about like this other doctor he consulted with about the patient. It's like, shit, dude. He just basically said that this person might have been responsible for murder, and so that they are definitely a danger to others, and you don't do shit about it, doctor. What the fuck? Anyways, I digress. And that is it. That is Dressed to Kill, not to be confused with Strip to Kill. But, if you want me to review Strip to Kill, leave a comment Leave a comment in the comment section. I know no one's actually even made it to this point, but so I'm not going to see any comments, but maybe I'll do it anyways. I don't know. Anyways, so this ends another episode of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror, and I will see you next time, everybody. And until next time, Internet, you stay scary and, don't go out picking up strangers at the art museum. Especially if you're married, come on, get a counselor, whatever. Use your hand. I don't know. Get a divorce first. Don't go whoring around, because you know what? You might end up just getting murdered in an elevator by a transsexual. It's possible. Blah.